Hey everyone, just wanted to say, if you have a story relating to the topic of today's video, feel free to share it in the comments below. Now, I'm damn excited about this one, so let's get right into it, shall we? What's the best way you've defeated an enemy? Whether it be a valiant battle, an act of heroism or sacrifice, a battle of wits, or even something downright silly. What's the best way you've defeated an enemy in your game? It wasn't me, but rather my players in a campaign I was DMing. They had to fight a redcap, and it was a decent challenge on account of them still being pretty low level. So, how did they fight it? The Dragonborn grappled and held them down, while the halfling stole his hat and washed it in a nearby stream. Because, you know, redcaps need to keep their hats soaked in fresh blood, or they die. So, they washed that hat, and the redcap promptly just died. It hasn't happened yet, but I have a plan to 1v1 the Tarrasque and one-shot it. The plan needs at least 495 +1 magic daggers and a bag of holding. I did the math, and a bag of holding can hold about 685 daggers, using a real-world dagger instead of the D&D one, which weighs like 1 to 2 pounds, so a max of like 500 or 250. And you need to be able to use the gate spell twice. You aggro the Tarrasque, having enough movement speed to outrun it for a few turns, then lead it into the gate spell. You then, hopefully, don't die in one round, so you can point the bag of holding at the Tarrasque and flip it inside out. This deals around 495 D4 plus 495 damage within 6 seconds. The 495 daggers are just to make sure it dies. We can't have enough daggers, can we? Then cast Gate and leave the realm you trapped the Tarrasque in for a very long time. TLDR, I stopped a powerful lich in his pyramid scheme by having an emotional breakdown. Okay. After losing 2 players in our current campaign, we got into the thick of an arc that started as a pilgrimage and steadily turned into a story dealing with the occult. One of the former player's characters formed her own cult to start a holy war like no other in the name of a god she was allegedly speaking to. One trip to hell later and a couple of tomb raids, we realized this god has nothing to do with her and she's being manipulated by a lich claiming to be something more. We find journals of others who fell victim to his undead multi-level marketing scheme, eventually finding our way into his lair. It's chock full of gems, some of them containing the souls of other liches. One of the journals we acquired happened to belong to the big bad evil guy, explaining how he was gathering like-minded individuals to join his pretend causes, and in return, he'd give them power. As soon as they built themselves up, he'd give them the key to lichdom, only to drag them off, harvest their souls, and consume them to grow his own power. There's a transmutation circle in the corner where all the magic happens, and after we play around with it too much to ascertain what it is, the Milan's alerted to our presence. This is a fight we know we can't win. We've battled him before and barely did a thing to him, but there's no other choice now. We've been a thorn in his side for months, and he's finally got us trapped. He explains, while thoroughly wiping the floor with our asses, that he intends to kill each and every one of us without mercy. I have something that can turn this all around, though. My character's a living phylactery for her lich ancestor, so I have her offer up their souls for our lives. This intrigues Milan so much that he brings the chaos to a stop so he can look me over. As soon as he realizes I'm telling the truth, he's more than happy to take that extra soul off my hands. My eagerness is all a lie, which makes him understandably nervous. He orders me into the transmutation circle, and it's then that the rest of the party is picking up on my plan. I stage a breakdown as I walk over, each step reducing me to tears. I dart back over to the now very uncomfortable lich as I'm sobbing my eyes out. Please, Milan, I'm scared. I've had their soul for so long that, oh God, I'm gonna be alone. I don't want to be alone again. What if it doesn't work? What if it isn't gonna work? I'm gonna die. Please, 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 don't make me do this alone. Milan, help me. I don't know what to do. The more I cry, the worse Milan feels about all this. He's both annoyed and guilty, so after some more pitiful whining on my part, he He steps forward and takes my hand in his own. He walks me over to the transmutation circle, reassuring me that everything will be alright and that I'll be fine. He gets me right into the circle and I hit him with those crying eyes and quivering lips once more. Don't leave me in here alone, I whimper as the rest of the party pretends to watch on in horror. Milan sighs, agreeing to step inside if it'll all stop this emotional nonsense. As soon as he steps in, one party member stops time long enough for me to jump out of the circle. When time resumes, another member shouts the command word for the transmutation circle, all of us getting to see the look of pure anger in Milan's eyes as his soul is ripped from his body. He now resides in a gem for the rest of his days. We were facing down an orc encampment. Instead of charging in and fighting it out, our barbarian decided he had a bright idea. Pretend to be chased by our druid in bear form, then get a surprise round on them with me, a cleric, and our wizard heading the rear. Well, the bear failed to convince the orcs he was actually trying to harm our barbarian. This made them believe perhaps it was a show of sorts. So we roll with it, and are now perceived to be a traveling circus with a bear and an elephant, Loxodon cleric. Those orcs turned out to be pretty significant allies after some entertainment and a deal. I was DMing for a group of newbies. I planned out a one-shot campaign to get them interested, only one quest. After a while, they reached the final boss. Not too powerful, obviously, it was a one-shot. A little way into fighting the boss, one of the players decides to try and beat the boss in a different way. I attempt to turn the knight into a communist. Oh, god damn. I thought he was joking at first, but quickly realized he was serious. I allowed him to roll for it, knowing it wasn't going to happen. Nat 20. The rest of the group starts laughing hysterically, and I regret letting him try. I tell the group it was practically impossible, but they demand that I counter-roll. Nat 1. I sigh, as the party laughs at my defeat. TLDR, group of newbies plays a one-shot and win by turning the boss into a communist. Not me, but a dragon nearly wiped our party before the final member turned into a water elemental and succeeded in a number of checks to worm his way in through the dragon's ear and into its brain, threatening to kill it outright if I didn't stand down. Gained an ally, and no one fucks with the rogue anymore. During a campaign in Eberron, we came face to face with an ancient Daelkyr. I was playing a war wizard, and we decided we couldn't win, so the party fled. I stayed behind and took what could only be compared to as 20 pounds of dynamite back into the ship this creature and his army were trying to get away on, and blew him and his minions to Kingdom Come. Very early in our campaign, we were facing some automaton-like monsters created by a wizard, after one of them nearly blew up my half-orc barbarian and the paladin. We fought for a few rounds close to death, and by the description of my DM, the creature I was fighting was very low health. Since I had it grappled and was raging at the time, I asked my DM whether I could try to turn it around, put my foot in its back, and try to rip both of the arms off. He allowed it, and so I rolled a strength check and it happened the way I described it, which for me was epic enough already. The paladin, however, had less luck with his enemy and wasn't able to finish him off. In my following turn, I then took the arms I just ripped off the one guy and beat the remaining one to death with them. Good times. Was playing an elven wizard in a 2nd edition game that got to a pretty decent level. I believe I was a level 12 or so, and at that point wizards can easily run away with the game if the DM doesn't know how to handle them. Well, the DM figured he'd take care of my wizard with a beholder. Had it positioned at the end of a hallway with a bunch of drow in front of him, focusing his anti-magic ray to make my wizard useless while the drow kept forcing saves versus sleep every round. Well, 2 of our front-line fighters were dwarves, so they weren't going down, but it was going to be a grind. I backed away from the entrance to the hallway so my magic would work again, and used a clairvoyance spell to see what was on the other side of a large iron door the beholder was guarding. Details didn't matter. Having seen it with clairvoyance, I was able to dimension door into it. Then I cast Anti-Magic Shell, lifted the iron door's bar from the other side, drew my longsword, as an elf I was proficient with it, and opened the door behind it. beholder turned the anti-magic ray on me, so I just charged it with my sword and started hitting it. I was hitting for a 1d8 plus 1, I rolled really high for stats and had a strength bonus, while the beholder was doing 1d4 with its bite. Not a winning exchange. So it turned off the anti-magic ray and bombarded me with all of its eye beams, none of which worked because of the anti-magic shell. And the drow couldn't help because they were entangled by the dwarven fighters and the beholder was blocking the hallway anyway. My wizard just beat it down with a long sword. DM was pretty demoralized. TLDR, we did a stupid, brought forward the 19th end of the world and got resurrected mid-fight, so the city was technically our enemy. This is gonna be good. Don't know if you could call it defeating an enemy, but right before our first and only rewind so far. It all started with us not completely understanding the mission, but we ended up bringing a key rune back to a city which used to be a mass graveyard. It ended up causing the end of the 19th cycle way too early. All the big bad evil guys came to the town and started slaughtering us one turn at a time. We then got resurrected as their minions. Our rogue was the only one alive, and our warlocks upgraded imp. They ended in a 1v1, and the imp won. Mostly because of the buffer of the BBEGs buffed the imp to oblivion. He eventually got so powerful that he basically ascended into godhood, then immediately blew up with the strength of 5 nukes. That's how we leveled a city and a huge area of now perceived enemies. A few sessions ago, the players I was DMing for were on top of a mountain waiting for a group of orcs to come out of a cave. They had the brilliant idea to pour all their flasks of oil on the ground at the opening to the cave, so anyone who comes out had to succeed at an ability check of 10 in dexterity to get out without slipping and falling off the face of the mountain. More than half of the orcs died this way when they finally came charging out. I realize now that it probably should have been a saving throw instead of an ability check, because it was a trap, but I can't change it now. Through a series of nat 20s using all my luck for the year, I, Wood Elf Ranger level 2, sprinted up a crumbling pillar, shot a bugbear twice, once in each knee, with a longbow, popped its head off with a short sword, and kicked the headless corpse down the cliff. I kept the head the rest of that campaign. Hey guys and gals, Brian here. Glad to see you made it to the end of the video. I hope everyone's doing alright today, and that Lady Luck is on your side in whatever endeavors you're actually trying to pursue. And if you need to hear it, then please, remember, you're awesome just the way you are, and I don't give a rat's ass who says otherwise. Don't ever change, just be you. And remember this too. Good people, they deserve genuine compliments in my book, goddammit, so take one from me, and please, give one to someone else today, alright? You never know what you might do for that random someone if you give them a compliment. It might just make their day, or make their whole month, you never know. Give it a try. Anyway, if you liked the vid, please leave a thumbs up and flick that sub button. And if you have a story you'd like to tell that's relevant to the topic of today's video, toss it in the comments as we're always reading them. And with that, see you in the next one. Bye for now. Stay safe out there, everybody.